We're going to go to John in Dorset. Turns out we're massive in Dorset, which is brilliant. I'm not yet to figure out why they're big in Japan. He says John's on the line. John, what can we do for you?
Yeah, Shamima Begum. I watched an interview on, I think it was Newsnight, with the lawyer from Liberty, and she said, I quote, she could have been trafficked, groomed, kidnapped. None of those three fit. And if she's a lawyer and she believes that, then truly she deserves to work for Liberty. I mean, she was attending protests with her father. There are photographs of her and her father at protests in London when she was well before she was 15. And if there's any analogy I could offer, I would say that she wasn't radicalized. It followed the same path as the Islamic equivalent of the Hitler Youth.
Wow. I mean, would you have her back then, I take it, or not? Would you be happy for her to stay out there?
Not.
She's British, though, isn't she, John? I mean, this is the argument, isn't it? She's a British citizen and we shouldn't just wash our hands of these people.
Well, we seem to be fairly elastic about the interpretation of British citizens. We can hit them with missiles and terminate them if they're in a combat zone, and if they want to get back here, they become British citizens. I mean, it's a question of flexibility. We have a number of Russians in this country who are contributing vast sums of money to political parties, but they're British.
Yeah. Well, John from Dorset, thank you very much. He's saying that Shamima Begum should definitely not come back to the United Kingdom. 03444991000 is that number. Tony's on the line now. Tony, what's your take on the Shamima Begum debacle?
Well, I mean, I can remember way back in, 2016 when we first heard about this. There were three of these girls who were trafficked. Khadija Sultana, Shamima Begum and Amira Abbasi all from Bethnal Green. They're all school kids. I think ultimately, you've got to look at how they got all the way. An ordinary Bethnal Green school kid cannot get to a war zone in Syria. And also, even if they actually believe in Islam, which is okay, I rather dislike that comment saying that they're like the Hitler Youth. I mean, there were Jews protesting in Nazi Germany against their internment. And, obviously in that part of the world, there's been a lot of assaults on Islam. We know most of the invasions that we've been done have been against Islamic countries.
No, look, and I think, Tony, this is an interesting one that you got on, because we've just seen Joe Biden's reverted to type, hasn't he? And now, it didn't take long for America to start bombing the Middle East again. And are you worried, actually, that we're going to end up with more Shamima Begums because of this kind of policy? I fully hold my hands up. I would not have gone to war in Iraq, and I think it's set off a death spiral, frankly, for that region. And we have a lot of blame we have a lot to kind of look at ourselves in the mirror about a lot of the issues that I think we've caused when it comes to domestic terrorism and some of the threats that we face. We had a huge hand in creating those threats, in my opinion, Tony. But are you worried now when you see the likes of Joe Biden bombing Iranian militants that we're going to get more Begums?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, he's carrying on what was. I mean, people think of Obama as such a great guy. Hang on, he's the guy that started this whole drone program where he's got his little kill list, where he sits down with a few people and they decide, in 5 or 6 different countries, including Yemen, by the way, and Afghanistan, we're going to kill a bunch of people. They've been killing wedding parties, funerals, all this sort of thing, bombing them with drones. So, I don't want to go back to that. I mean, I know that they've been doing that sort of thing ever since, but it rained right back under Trump. But look, the most important thing I think about the Shamima Begum story is we've got to have a court case. Otherwise, we won't know how she got there. And there was a fascinating article in a Turkish newspaper back in March 2015, quoting a Turkish police report on some Syrian national. This is March 2015. Where they actually found details of Shamima and these other girls on this guy's laptop. Now, it turned out he had been recruited into Canadian intelligence. He'd been bribed by offering him Canadian citizenship. He was a Syrian national. And it looks as if he was the guy that met these girls in Istanbul and paid for their tickets to go to the southern Turkey, where they were met by another guy who was a Brit, probably also working for the intelligence services, that took them deeper into Syria. So, this looks to me as if they're trying to cover up an intelligence operation, which is actually in support of ISIS. Now, the intelligence people will say, we were spying. But to what extent does it mean to what extent is someone like this actually actively recruiting for ISIS rather than just spying on the recruitment line?
Well, look, it's indeed a very murky and dark, tangled web of a world out there, Tony. I will give you that. It's an interesting take. You can join this chat as well, 03444991000. Now, very shortly, I'm going to be going to the wonderful Paul Hutchin of the Daily Record. He's their political editor, and it's great to have him on to pick our way through the minefield that is Scottish politics at the moment.